So with that out of the way, I am going to hand off the first pitch of the night, wolf pitches, to Aaron. So I'm taking my mask off to present. All right. So all right. Feel free to turn the presentation lighting down.
Oh yeah, let me do that. All right. So my game doesn't have a name yet. It's just called City Builder, and it's a tile-based city builder game, kind of like what you see here. Except this is kind of Carcassonne style. If any of you have played that, where as you go you add tiles. Well, mine is more of just an infinite world procedurally generated thing. All right. So summary, you build up your own city in this procedural tile-based game, manage your resources to build new buildings, and expand your settlement. And then, unable to play video. Damn, that's lame. Okay. All right, so I threw together a little tile demo. So it's basically an infinite world. It'll just fail once you hit the max integer number or anything. But anyways, this is just a world that it moves side to side, and once tiles reach the far side, it teleports them to the other side so that it doesn't reach any limits or anything. All right. So that's the summary. The gameplay loop is you acquire resources, you build/upgrade buildings with those resources. You unlock new resources/abilities with the buildings, and then you acquire more resources. So here's kind of like an little example UI. I'm not a UI artist or an artist. So like you click on a tile and it gives you some things you can do with that tile, such as like if it's a woods tile, you can build a little building or something. That'll give you wood to build. And yeah, it's a basic civilization building game in like a hex style world. All right, so aesthetic, a very cutesy aesthetic kind of art style, fantasy type world, like a, I don't know, frog, mushroom, etc. civilization. So not like human civilization. So maybe like mushroom houses or frog houses. I don't know, but something along those lines for how the game will look. And that's to kind of give it a very calming gameplay and art. All right, so possible roles on the team, programmers like 2 to 3. Programmers will do stuff such as UI programming for placing buildings and such, interacting with it, resource/building system, and then the tile system. And then 3D artists, 1 to 2, they will make tile models of like the different resource tiles, the different buildings, and so on. 2D artists for UI art, and then a designer for like UI and balancing such. The minimum viable product is a seemingly infinite world, which is already in place. The ability to build buildings, I feel, is a key part to the game. At least I want at least like maybe 3 to 4 different types of buildings. At least 2 different types of resources, art for everything, like no just like gray box stuff, and some UI to allow you to build. Stretch goals, save system. It's definitely a stretch, but it is a stretch goal. Okay, as many buildings resources as possible given the time. Biomes, so different types of resources in different biomes. Small civilians that kind of run around on the paths, you know. Maybe a worker system, I don't know. Minimap, and then animated tiles. So like if there's a like logging camp or something, there's little animations that go on the tiles. But those are very much stretch goals. Oh, and also this is in Unreal Engine 5 is what I made it. So yeah. Any questions about it? Yes.
Are there any like challenges posed to the player while building or a loss condition?
I don't know about a lose condition, but basically the challenges are just like building up your resources so you can build the buildings and so on. And so, yeah.
So is it like just essentially like a sandbox game?
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to think. What are city builders like? What's that one game called? Like Timberborn or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, with the beavers and the building, but on a tile-based world. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, going good.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Anyways, welcome to working title Foraging Friends. Because they're very cute and very happy and very lovable. Okay, so my thought and my pitch for this game is that Foraging Friends would be a single player puzzle and exploration game that is meant to kind of be just you can explore a forest as you collect a bunch of like woodland spirit foraged like foraging friends, kind of done in the style of the mushroom like before. As you hike to the top of the mountain, and then you can have a picnic with all the friends you collected, and then you can like solve puzzles to help you get to the top of the mountain. Kind of like Pikmin, but cuter and more just, mushrooms. So the main things of this game would be to collect foraging spirits, solve puzzles, explore the scenery, and climb to the top. There would be no lose condition. The win condition is really just getting to the top, but it's meant to be like take it at your own pace. Very like nice music, like very pretty. Like you could just stop and kind of sit with it. Okay, so the technical aspects of it is it would be a 3D game. The thought behind it is I kind of want to switch to Unreal just so I can do real time, like I forgot what they're called, but like the blending textures where they can blend in with the environment and the ground. So, because that just makes a really pretty game. Also, my final project for digital modeling, I'm going to be doing that and doing it in the style that I would think of for this game. So a lot of assets will already be done, which is nice. But probably Unreal 4 or 5, either one. But it would be a third-person perspective. It would most likely be on PC, but I would really, really love to port it to the Switch. That would be awesome. That would be so much fun. But, okay, so as for the gameplay, you would begin at the foot of the mountain and collect a map, and then it'll have the main path on it as well as primary collectibles that you need in order to get to the top. So you start the journey, and then you meet your first little guy, and he helps you solve the first puzzle. And from then on, you can find them like hiding around. And for different puzzles, you'll have to collect either a certain number or a certain like type of them, and you'll find more difficult obstacles as you get higher up the mountain. But once making it to the top, you'll have a little picnic with all your little forest friends that you met, and like Frog Detective, if anyone's seen that, I want him to do a little dance. I think that would be funny. And very cute. So artistic choices would be very like 3D stylized. So this is definitely like kind of what I would think it would look like. And then those would be what the creatures would look like, with, of course, without the aliasing that it has on it, which I'm very upset about, but that's fine. So definitely just like a fall forest with inspiration from games such as A Short Hike, but not pixelated, Firewatch, and Pikmin. So I just kind of wanted a cute, relaxing energy to it, where you could just like take it at your own pace and explore the scenery. So the minimum viable product, as Aaron better put it, it would be to basically create the path and the scene design. So like the world itself is, the main, like, you're here to enjoy the scenery and explore it. And then obviously you need movement and interaction with the little guys. Add those little guys and make them follow at least one or two. And then we need to create the obstacles that you have to overcome in order to hike up the mountain. And then you would also need a map, UI and menus, and create the ending and the primary collectibles you need to get to the ending. Now, I was a little bit more excited about the stretch goals because this is the more fun stuff. But I would like it if like the different types had different like powers and you'd have to collect specific ones. And like, you know, maybe a little acorn like shoots little seed pods. I don't know. Little guys. They can do what they want. And then I think it would also be fun to add like a journal which can keep track of like, you know, I found this guy under a log. Maybe I can find more under logs. Or like, this is what it does. Mini bosses would also be fun because then that could also add more of a story element to it. Like you could have a bear and he has your honey and you just want that back. And yeah, then port to consoles, Switch. I really like that idea. Cutscenes, you know, just a lot of more cinematic like storytelling devices. And then, of course, you can find them in little hidden spaces with interactables, like you pick up a log and it's under it, stuff like that. And then secret collectibles, which will add a sense of, like, I want to replay it in order to find more secret stuff. So that would kind of add to a gameplay loop a little bit. But yeah, thank you. Do I X out of it? I'm assuming so. Oh, I gotta do.
You can just do Control Shift if you want to open it back up. Okay. I'll just. We'll have it
All right.
Go.
Oh, that's right. Question. What's up? Yes, that's a slide I did not add, and I wish I did. Oh, thank you. Obviously, there would probably need to be about 2-3 programmers, as with most games. But a lot of it is, you know, creating more artistic space. So, also having an equal amount of people working on the art side of things is, you know, very please. That would be most ideal to it. As well as someone who could write and work on a production or like music as well. That would also be probably the most ideal situation of people dispersed to it. But yeah. Any more questions? Very funny, very cool. This is me.
All right. So this is mine. I present to you Swash. So this is basically just a 2.5D arena fighter, so it's a 3D environment characters with 2D perspective. Players are going to choose between a set of roguish characters that are all equipped with 3 abilities: a primary bladed weapon for sword fencing and fighting, and then a secondary ranged attack weapon on a short cooldown, and then finally a special ability that's on a longer cooldown. Some inspiration I've taken is from different pieces of pirate media, and then also the game Nidhogg. So levels are the main thing that I want to be special about this game. I want them to be really dynamic and changing. So 2 examples that I have here to kind of paint the picture is a carriage chase on top of a fight on top of a rolling carriage where, you know, people could fall off, or there can be other carriages that pop up, or different things, but there's basically always a dynamic element to each fight. There would be physics objects that could be thrown around to stun people, other interactable things, like maybe a tree branch that you could get hit by, or if we're talking about a ship, there could be rigging that you could climb. It'd be swaying in the ocean. It could run through a storm and you could get struck by lightning, different stuff like that. As for the goals, I want to have, this is kind of a minimum viable product, and then also a stretch goals smashed into one. At least 2 characters, but I'd like to have 4. And each character would need to have models and animations, as you can see with the knight there. We'd want to have fully set up stuff. And then we want to have portraits to use on a fighter select screen, as well as all the mechanics that go along with their unique abilities. We want to have at least 1 level with the environment that is dynamic and changes over the course of the match, as well as interactable objects that are around. Need to have menu and UI options. I use Towerfall here because it's a great example of having like heads-up display elements that are on the character during the match, in case we want to keep track of cooldowns or when things are going. Sound and music, I didn't really have an image for because ears, and I want to have at least 2 tracks, one for the menus and when things are kind of chill, and then one for when the action kicks up. But I'd love to have more. Sounds we'd want to have for all combat, anything that happens in the game, we want to have a sound for it. Minimum viable product would probably leave out ambient sounds and menu sounds, but combat would be the primary focus there. And then finally, tech art stuff, if we get to it, these are all kind of optional. Visual effects to spice things up, some shaders. I'd like to do a sort of pixelization shader. I'll get more into that in the style slide after this. Physical animations will make, kind of hitting stuff have force to it, and the animations will then react to the physics of getting hit by things. And then different lighting setups, as you can see here, where we can have dynamic lighting on the characters. And then the last thing would be for the engine, I want to do Unreal, but this totally could be done in Unity. So we'll see which engine people prefer it in. Unreal is what I would like to do, though. So for the art style, I'm trying to do the 2.5D aesthetic. I'm trying to go for something closer to this thing here for what it looks like, but the idea is going to be doing what Dead Cells does here. We have a 3D model that is then pixelated. So all of our animations will be done in 3D, which will make animating things a lot easier and faster. And then we will export those all. Well, we don't even have to export them to a sprite sheet. We'll basically, instead of doing what Dead Cells does and exporting it to a sprite sheet, we'll do what Oberdin does and put a pixelization shader over top of it. So it'll still be 3D, and we can have dynamic 3D lighting and 3D effects and everything, but it will look all pixelated like this image here. And that is my thing. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Does this mainly focus on PvE or PvP?
PvP.
How will you do this stuff with multiplayer? Will it just be controllers?
I think so, yeah. It's going to be local multiplayer, all on one screen like Smash Brothers. Adam.
How many people do you plan to be for this project?
All right, let me go back a couple slides real quick. So I want to have at least 2 programmers to do all the programming. It shouldn't be too complicated programming-wise. I think the hardest part's going to be doing all the events that'll happen in the levels and the interactions between different characters. Most of the mechanics themselves are pretty simple, but systems will be the more complicated aspect. The level design and art team, I'd want to have, I myself am a 3D artist, so I can cover a decent amount, but I'll probably be focusing on characters. I'd like to have someone else. You can be a total novice. I can teach to do more of the hard surface objects and level environment art. And then menus and UI, I'd love to have someone that likes to do UI because I don't. Sound and music as well, I can do a little bit, but having someone that's more well-versed would be great. And then I can, for the most part, take care of tech art stuff. But I'd love to have any help if anyone's interested. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. Any others? All right, thank you. Oh, sorry, Aaron had one.
I was just gonna say, I take it you're a big fan of pixel shaders on 3D stuff.
I am. It looks all retro and cool. I don't know.
I'm like,
It's like the 3rd time I've done it, yes. I also like drawing a lot of skulls and fire. Exactly. Thank you, Jaden. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Yeah. That one was more. Yeah. I like the style. Okay, it's cool.
oh, also, I didn't mention it, but a music person would also be good for my team. I realized I forgot.
All right. I would also say anyone. I'll also say anyone interested in doing design, level design especially, would love to have working on this because designers are really helpful. All right.
Hello, everyone. I am Carson Cole. I'm here to present my Wolf project pitch for a first-person 3D platformer. I'm sorry I couldn't make it tonight. I am at home sick with the flu, and we'll just get right into this. So that's a brief overview. The idea behind the game is you're a 9-to-5 worker, and you're on this new elusive project, and requirement is you have to get it on to work on time. You're trying to cross the final street to get to your office, but the crosswalk is sentient and hates your guts and will not let you cross no matter what. And so when you try to run across the street, the supernatural happens and the road magically turns into this bottomless pit, and all the traffic turns into these obstacles you have to run across in order to get to the other side, in order to make it to work on time. So, in terms of how the game will work, it will be 5 days, equaling 1 work week, with a morning level, which is the rush hour level, and sort of your work day level, which is what I'm calling a cubicle style level. Um, and in terms of design, they're very different. I'll get onto that in a second. Um, and there'll be a big focus on momentum-based platforming. So here's our gameplay loop. So you'll start playing the game at the top with the rush hour level. So those are going to be linear designed levels meant to test the player in their knowledge of the movement systems, by making them get from one end of the level to the other within a certain time frame. If you lose, you start back from the beginning, or you start back from a checkpoint with your time continuing. If you beat the level, you move on to the cubicle levels, but in between that, you learn a new movement item or style, that you will use in these cubicle levels, which are meant to be more open, non-linear levels that not test, but teach you the new tool you are given. And so you're in a stress-free environment where there's no time limit. You die, you just respawn, and you're just trying to get to the end using this new tool and complete your workday. And by completing that level, you'll continue to the next day, or the next morning, technically, and play the next rush hour level until you get through the whole work week, where you hit the final boss, which is currently a stretch goal, but that would be the end of the game for the current scope. So movement is a massive part of this game, and very centered around momentum and keeping and creating speed. And so a lot of inspiration of this comes from 2 games I really think have great movement first person wise. And they're both Source games, of course, but TF2 and TF2. So Team Fortress 2, I think, has great air strafing, air movement. It feels pretty good, and how it works with tools like rocket jumping, um, exterior tools, and how it interacts with the base physics are, I think, a good inspiration for this, as well as Titanfall 2 with its sliding and wall running and sort of its very free flowing movement. And so those kind of have culminated in this kind of movement list I have here. And they all work in different ways, and they have properties that aren't stated here. I'll go over a couple just to show some of the depth. But the goal in this is to kind of resemble a fighting game in a sense, where you are given a lot of tools, but it's up to the player to use the tools in the way they see best fit. So the goal is there's not going to be one optimal way to do this. If you want to get to the level as quickly as you could gain speed like this, like that, whatever. So some examples would be, I think air sliding is a really cool one. Air movement in general, I think, is going to be really cool. But instead of normally jumping, coming back to the ground, air sliding will shorten the distance you go, but increase the distance you fall. And when you fall, you're actually getting momentum. So when you hit the ground, you get that burst of speed, and you can continue holding slide to ride that and continue that out. Or maybe you want to cancel into a jump and convert that speed into a jump, or there's lots of options you can do and how to mix and match it. And so then that leads us to unlockable actions, which are going to be the things you unlock during each cubicle level. So I'm only going to go over one of them, but I'll start with what I'm calling the Mad Dash, which is a pseudo Celeste dash, where since the most level will be bottomless pit, it's a way to save yourself. And so how this one will work is you look in a direction, you hit the button, you dash there. If you reach the peak or the apex of your dash, you'll actually lose all your speed and momentum that you've gained, and you'll kind of have to restart from scratch. However, if you cancel it by hitting something, aka a wall, the ground, an obstacle, something, you'll preserve that momentum and even get a little bit more. So all these tools are meant to be ways that you can create speed in tandem with the environment. And so if you're interested in that kind of idea, it's cool. It's going to be pretty cool. And one philosophy I have going into this is no speed cap. You can go as fast as you want. I do not care. I think finding ways to use these tools in order to blaze to the end, if it's just like some glitch where you can just go like a BLJ, I don't care. I mean, some things will get fixed if they seem too broken, but if you're able to engineer some really sick way to gain speed, I think that is just learning the tools to their apex. So here's a better look at some depth in the movement. And these are different jump arcs. So I'm not going to go into them all because I didn't explain some of the things on here. But these are different things you can do in the air that change your jump arc. So stuff like precise platforming or really gaining speed through jumping. You have lots of options in that. And here you can see the air slide, like I mentioned, and how that would relate. So lots of depth going into this, and lots more than meets the eye. In terms of obstacles, so all of them are going to impact how the player moves in terms of how they function. So cars, you'd bounce right off of them. Trucks, maybe go right through them, stopping you if you're not fast enough. Manholes will shoot you straight up. Street signs, you can wall run off of them, generating speed by running downwards. These are just ideas for things placed throughout the level that can impede or create momentum. So in terms of art direction, I'm a 2D artist. That's what I've done most of my time here. And I want this project to be a chance for me and other people like me to try 3D art. So helping with that, it's going to be a more polygonal, cartoony style with no strict proportions. It's not going to be detailed shading. It's all about that rough geometry, simple shapes, good colored choices, and how everything comes together as a whole. And part of that is so it's not jarring that we can actually add 2D assets. So if something like the manhole spraying water, I mean, I don't want a 3D model water particle effects, so let's just draw them. And so I think creating an art style where that's not going to be jarring at all and it's going to work well would be it's what we're aiming for in this. And it's designed to be chaotic in things that maybe shouldn't be there, shouldn't be questioned. So having fun with what's placed in the level and what the surroundings are is something, just having fun with it, I think is very important. So I whipped up some concept art that are on the next few slides just to get an idea of what it would look like art-wise. So on the left, concept art, just some idea I had for an enemy. And on the right is the 3D render of that enemy that I actually did in about 3 hours without any tutorials or anything. No prior experience before that, just a 2D artist. So the main reason I did that was to show that it's very possible, especially with how long this project will be working on this project. It's very possible to learn it and be able to create 3D things. And here's some concept art of what the game would look like during a level. So this would be the rush hour levels in the morning where you're just trying to get to work. And sorry, you have this bottomless pit at the bottom, which is where the road is kind of given out. You have this horizon of the city, and you have all the obstacles. And so you can almost envision running, jumping off the side, jumping onto the side, wall running, jumping off, sliding down that right platform into the manhole, shooting up, dodging the enemy, going onto that far platform and sprinting up a bit. it's you can really imagine how it flows and comes together when you see this. And so I'm really glad I did this. But I think this really shows kind of the vision I have for this. And so current scope. So the base 5 days, so 1 week work week with 5 of each level type. So the 4 movement additions. I only have 3 listed right now, so open to ideas for a 4th. In-depth movement system, the 3D assets for objects, level scenery, enemies, and the like. 2D assets for UI, particle effects, and potential Easter eggs and fun stuff. And stretch goals would be more days, final boss, more movement options throughout the game, and possibly a shop system where you can unlock these minor movement things like a double jump or something else. Or maybe cosmetic things if the art team wants to have fun, and other things. In terms of technical things, game engine, I was on Unity first. I think for this project, and just for gaining experience and trying to learn 3D stuff, Unreal is going to be a good choice. And so I think for this project, it's going to be a good opportunity for people to really try Unreal. I'm open to changing that. I've never been hard set on one, but I think Unreal, in terms of what it provides for this project, would be pretty good, because I've heard working with movement in Unity is a chore. For 3D art and 2D art, I leave that to the artists who want to join, but in terms of what this project is designed for, it's designed for a computer, so to be played with mouse and keyboard with potential support for controllers. And to specify, this would be a single player game. And so this project would be for advanced programmers who want to work on creating complex movement, creating good game feel. Beginner platform programmers who want to begin working on 3D, but really haven't done 3D before. And so there are smaller aspects within the project that can be worked on. Programming wise, of course, anyone who wants to try 3D art is welcome, is encouraged to try this. 2D artists who aren't comfortable trying 3D, that's not your thing, that's okay. There are lots of opportunities to do 2D art. And then level designers is a really key one. If the levels aren't good in tandem with the movement, the game won't feel great. And so if you aspire to try to create good levels or want to do level design, this is a great project to try to learn that and try to understand the core of a game in order to create levels that really support that. And so that'll be all. If you have any questions, I'm not there tonight, but I'll be in the Discord. My name's Carson. That's my Discord name. It won't be that hard to find me. So just ping me, DM me, wherever, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. So I hope you all have a good night.
So, we ready? Yep. Okay, so this is our game pitch. Essentially, what we've got for you is a really great tagline. Looking for love this winter? The answer has been your closest friend all along. And that friend is the Google Suite. So basically, this is a game where you date various Google Suite applications, such as Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, and much more. Each Google, as they are to be referred as, will have different mini games associated that you must perform well in to gain their affection.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so the core gameplay loop is you'll spend the day exploring the Google Suite, talking and interacting with each of the Googles, completing their various mini games to try to woo them. So it'll be mostly like a dating sim, visual novel style, and you'll have a certain amount of, I guess, time points allotted so you can interact with them in different ways. Like interacting with the girl will cost like one out of your daily time points, or you could take them on like different trips, like to the beach, dinner, fishing, any of the good stuff. So introducing our first gal, slide into the sheets with Google Sheets. This is you, Max.
Oh, right. Okay. So as you can see, this is Google Sheets. And Google Sheets is the smartest of all of the Google Suite apps. A studious Google who loves statistics and making graphs. She dislikes eggs, apparently, and really likes math, organization, and fishing.
Okay. So this time you're going to slide into the sheets with Google Slides.
So here we got Google Slides. And she is a performer, a self-proclaimed actress who loves dancing and informational presentations. And she likes dancing, this presentation, and she does not like the economy.
Or for the base game, you can have. Oh, sorry. Did we not explain Google Sheets?
You missed the other.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I missed Google Sheets mini game. So it'll be like a circuit style game where you're given like a certain voltage at the beginning or whatever, and you have to like route it to different nodes, I guess, with their proper voltages or whatever, while also completing the circuit. And I guess for like the stylistic purpose, she'll be completing some kind of spreadsheet in the background. This circuit represents her workflow, as it were. Yes. That's kind of up to you. That's the point of the time system. Yeah. Yeah, but don't get caught cheating. That's the thing. You don't want to invite too many Googles to the same thing. Actually, Google Drive is your car.
You can take the car. Yeah, I think it's messed out.
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So Google Slides game, rhythm-based thing like Dance Dance Revolution, Friday Night Funkin' sort of thing, where she'll be presenting in the background and you doing the proper inputs is her doing her presentation correctly. And I guess much like Friday Night Funkin', whenever you miss a note, like the main guy has like this weird face, something will happen with her slide that makes it worse, or happens with her presentation that makes it worse off because of your incorrect input. All right. Have a romantic evening on the docks with Google Docs.
So this is Google Docs. She is one of your earliest friends. The classic childhood friend. She is reliable and easygoing. She loves poems and flowers and really hates cold weather.
For real. Okay. And so for Google Docs' game or mini game or whatever, it'll be a typing mini game. You'll be given like a poem or whatever to type for her that she'll love. And your goal is to type it as fast as you can for more points. And then there'll be, combatants, because look at her. Who wouldn't love that? So there'll be people trying to sabotage you, right? And they'll purposely give you poems with typos, and you'll get bonus points for correcting those typos. Because Google Docs loves word check. Yes. Okay. And then you'll have other Google assistants. Does this fall under Max?
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a few more Google Suite applications planned. Google Forms. It's just wait. Wait, yeah. Which
I don't know.
Google Drive, Google Calendar, Google Classroom. I suppose since these haven't been fleshed out quite as much as what's been shown so far, I won't go too much into it. But there's also more on the table, such as Google Play. Was that on the? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Google
other
Play.
potential Googles would be Google Play, your gamer girl.
Google Plus, who is dead. I think that's an important thing to mention.
He is a zombie.
Yeah.
For those of you who like Monster Girls and stuff, that is
Yeah.
Google
There's
Plus.
something for you.
Expanding the demographics of this
Yes.
game. And Google Search was the last one on this slide.
So the ideas for their gameplay would be Google Play would have a bunch of retro games you could play, like Galaga, Tetris, Pong, like those sort of things. They'd all be Google themed. Google Plus would be a small Farmville type game, because apparently there was one of those in Google Plus at some point. So we figured that was a solid reference. And then Google Search will be mostly trivia, as this is what search engines are pretty much good for. Yeah. Yes, and then this is just the world of possibilities. If this game gets picked up, imagine the Googles. They'd be so fun to interact with. That's what I think. So
There's room to go forward.
Yeah.
Like many other options.
true, sequels, yeah, all sorts of things.
Possibilities are endless.
Endless possibilities. Oh yeah, yes. Google Translate. If that's why you were saying exotic. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, so the technical aspects of this game. So it will probably be in either Unity or Godot. It could be in Unreal, depending on what people feel like using. But it's going to be the main game is going to be 3D or 2.5D. Haven't decided on a particular style for that. But the mini games are going to be 2D. So there will be a significant 2D aspect to the game, and Unreal is a little bit less 2D friendly than Unity. So you're thinking that might be a better pick for this game specifically. But if people really want to use Unreal, that is an option. This is a single-player PC game. You can't have multiple people competing for the same Google. It's all about you. And so it'll be a combination of 2D art and 3D modeling. So both 2D artists and 3D artists are welcome here. Yeah, some goals for the base game. We want to have at least the three minimum: Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets as the Googles that you can date. And a simple dialogue system, because as a sort of visual novel-like game, you want to have rich character dialogue for every Google. Get to know them personally. You want to make sure to have a dialogue system for that. A pretty basic hub world, just like a house that you live in. You can walk around, talk to them. Nothing too fancy, just for the minimum viable product. This will be a relatively UI-heavy game. So we want to make sure to have UI interaction in the hub world. You can talk to the different Googles. There are menus, UI for each minigame, making them feel responsive for each of them. And then adding an activity point system that you can allocate for each Google. And then, story and characterization for each of the various Googles. So, and some stretch goals is having additional Googles, like our favorite zombie Google Plus, the gamer Google Play, and Google Search, of course. Refining these mini games to make them really feel better. Creating new hub areas in the hub world that can be explored. Say you want to take someone to the beach, you can go to a physical beach if we have time to do that. Mini games other than just the specific mini game for each Google, like you want to go fishing, you can go do that, or have dinner, go out and do something with that. That would be a stretch goal for additional activities you can do. We of course want to maximize the number of Google references, as we all love Google. We want to see it as much as possible, and of course making every Google tool dateable, like your car, Google Drive. Like some people will want to do that, so you can date your calendar if you want to. Like you have a calendar that can keep track of your events. If you want to date your calendar by, say you lay out a schedule for everything you're going to do in the day. If you replicate that schedule exactly from what your plan is, you get calendar points. So yeah.
Also, Google Forms will ask you at the end of each minigame, your feedback, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the more you interact with, the forms, the more she'll like you as well.
Yeah.
It's also a stretch, but we had more than just.
Yeah, we had ideas.
Yeah.
We didn't quite make it here. So, okay, yeah, and then team members we're looking for, probably at least 2 to 3 programmers, including a UI programmer, because this will be a relatively UI heavy game. Both 2D and 3D artist, and then a writer and designer for dialogue, and then sound designer would be nice as well. Yeah, what are your questions?
Do you have a plan for Gmail?
For Gmail, oh.
It was all.
Yeah, that was one of the other possibilities to consider, but it doesn't have the Google name on it
WeChat.
directly. It's not Google Mail, it's Gmail. So it's a little step behind.
What if Gmail was like a postal one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
post one.
You see, there are many possibilities to think of.
Yeah,
There's
like
so much room to
Google
grow.
Classroom is gonna be like your teacher or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, Haley.
I assume you're gonna be like dating other people.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Are they not gonna get mad at you dating other people?
Well, you just don't need to get caught. Is the thing.
Yeah.
Like as long as you don't get caught, you'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, Thomas.
Are our options only limited to women, or will we have sex?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If we get enough people on the team, there's absolutely room to expand the
Yeah.
roster. So this is the base that we had, but there could be all sorts of Googles. Yeah.
What is the style of dialogue here?
You want a VA? Absolutely. The style of dialogue is probably going to be. Well, I guess that's up to the writer. We hadn't really thought of
Yeah.
a particular style yet. Yeah.
What's this game's ESRB rating gonna be?
It's going to be T, nothing too explicit. I mean, their alternate versions are on the table, but not as a VGDC project. So, rated T.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam.
Will you be able to customize your character, her class and such?
You probably won't be able to see them, honestly.
Yeah. Possibly. I mean, that's a stretch goal if we wanted to add character creation or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
What was your thought process?
Okay, so we had a discussion at Golden Dragon about a month ago. We were just kind of spitballing about, okay, what if you could date the various Google software? And then just 2 days ago, we decided to make it into an actual pitch. So, yeah, now it's here. It's a thing.
It was longer ago than that.
Yeah, Aaron.
What about the Microsoft software?
We hate them. No.
Yeah.
No chance.
That's my house.
We had not, but it's always an option.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about adjacent?
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is the goal.
That is the end goal. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure, of course.
Follow-up question. Is divorce on the table?
No.
No,
Only
it's
happy
a
endings
forever
here.
Why would
commitment.
Yeah.
So just thinking about some of the general difficulty questions, do you have a thought in mind for how you want to implement the mini games, or is that just kind of figure out as you go?
What do you mean exactly? So what are you asking in terms of how the process of playing them from the hub world is going to
I
look
mean,
like?
in terms of making them, do you want them to just each kind of be their own little thing, where at a certain point in time you hop out to a new game scene, or do you want them to be somehow embedded into the game itself?
Yeah, so I was thinking that it would be sort of you pop out into a different scene, sort of a separate thing from the 3D game world. It's okay, now you're on this 2D screen and you can play the mini game that you're doing. At least that was my initial thought process of it. We could change it if needed, but yeah.
What engine?
Well, Unity probably. Godot, of course, I will recommend, but I know that is not a popular option. Unity probably Unreal, but its 2D capabilities are not as good. So probably Unity. Yeah.
Is this world set inside the computer as these physical representations of computer programs, or is it in real life?
Real life personifications.
Yeah. Yeah. So you won't have the Google Docs logo just hovering around walking. There will be a personified version, as you saw in the previous slide.
Yes.
Go back to Google
Yeah,
Docs.
but I'm going to Google Docs.
Yeah, there she is.
There she is. Don't you love her?
Yeah.
Huh?
Feelings toward Bing. Hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Who is Bing?
This is the Google dating game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is she?
I guess Bing could be the jerk across the street or something.
Yeah.
You could have a cameo. You're the antagonist. Yeah.
Is there any idea for how you could reference incognito?
Okay,
At
not
the
in this
moment.
T-rated, not in this T-rated game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for
Yes.
Max or
Got a not safe for work Instagram.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see some, no.
Yeah, let's not worry about that right
Yeah,
now.
let's not worry about that.
We are currently.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on the Twitch. We're live. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, this will be on PC. I mean, you could do console exports in theory, but it was intended for PC. Yeah.
You make a version that is playable in the Google Chrome browser.
I mean, sure, we can have like a web export that would work in Chrome.
Can it be put on like only good Google files? Like Google Pixel?
Well, we can put it on the Google Play Store, of course, and just never consider putting it on any other software.
I think we're doing them a favor.
Yeah, yeah, this is free advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, there is
Yeah, Google
a
really
word
needs
out
it.
there called Google that is spelled differently.
That's
It's like a
true.
number. So you
Unrelated
can
though. This is maybe direct, because of course we would never infringe on any copyright laws through doing this. Yeah.
The general concept of it is that it's going to be a pixelated 2D game with a lot of funky stuff. I'm really trying to expand the parameters of how these 2D fighting games work, because in my opinion, in the past few years, they've been quite restricted on innovation, and I really want to just expand the realm of fighting games. And generally, there's two ways I want to do this. So this kind of comes into the main concept of the game. So generally, do you guys have you guys played 2D fighting games before? A little different from platform fighters, so Smash doesn't count here. But just basically to explain, generally the win condition or how you beat your opponent in each round in game is that you just simply take their health down to 0, right? And that's pretty much entirely the same for 99% of fighting games, right? And then you have your platform fighters, which is just like, hey, knock them out of the arena, right? And that was probably the biggest innovation, in my opinion, of fighting games in the past, 2-3 decades, right? I believe Smash was 1999. So yeah, about over 2 decades now. And I really want to expand this because it really hasn't been innovated in a long, long time. So I want to try something a little bit different. And here's my proposal. I have a little system at work that might seem a little bit complicated, but I'll try to explain it real quick. So anyway, the idea is that there's different stages or states each fighter is in. And depending on what you do in the round, this can change, and how you work with these states determines who wins the game overall. So you have 3 states. So
Does that other marker there work? That one is very light.
We can't see it.
Like the one
right there. Is that one?
oh, okay. Just a shitty.
Mitchell's grabbing one real quick, so I guess just give him a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'll keep explaining more. So there's 3 states that I want to work with. So the first one is just your normal state. This is just you, just most of the round, right? But then there's a special kind of state, and this will work with some other systems. It's called a burnout state, where this is the state where if you get in this, that's like your danger mode, and if you get hit with certain moves, then that's what actually KOs you, not your health. There we go. That's better. So, normal. Cute little fighting stance. Burnout. Let's say he's fatigued. And there's probably some other general nerfs when you get into burnout state, but in general, this is not a state you want to be in, but eventually you'll get to there. And then this is where the name comes in, the Berserk state, where this is when you get powered up, this is when stuff gets crazy, your moves get buffed, you get new mechanics for each character, they're all going to be unique and idiosyncratic, how they work, But in general, when you get this, you're kind of unstoppable, and this is when the game gets really, really fun. You want to get this, you try to work towards this. But as you start losing, you get to that. And how do you transition from these states? Well, you have these meters. So this is kind of what the UI will look like at the corner. You have meters that control your offense and your defense. The first one is simply your Berserk meter, where you work towards building that up, and you can use that for either super attacks, which are like, if you don't know what super attacks are, really just powerful attacks, or if you fill it all the way up, get to the Berserk state. And then the next one, I'm calling it Vigor for now. This is a lot of your defensive mechanics, but the thing is, here's the part that I think it gets kind of crazy, because when your defense drains the entire way, then you enter burnout state. So how you use your defensive mechanics is going to tailor how you actually get out or stay in the fight. And you might ask, like, hey, what does health have to do with all this? If you run out of health, you also lose all your vigor and you go in the burnout state. So it's kind of like two stages, right? Two stages. One, you want to take down their health or their vigor. Gonna do a little bit of computer science syntax here. And then secondly, you need to hit them with these certain moves, and I'll explain that here in a second. So you want to knock the opponent out. And there's two main reasons why I want to do something like this. One, it still allows you to take out the opponent normally. You can still take down their health. But then secondly, you know how in Smash, you don't necessarily not every stock plays out the same way. You can either live on forever or get knocked out, like you get 0 to death as soon as you come back in. This kind of introduces a dynamic aspect to how each round goes. If you play really, really bad and you lose all of your vigor meter, then you can get knocked out like first 10, 15 seconds, right? But if you play really smart with your defensive mechanics, then you can stay in the fight for longer. So it introduces a dynamic element to it. Your health is not the only thing that determines this, right? But once again, it also gives a more traditional aspect to it. So it's not too different from a traditional 2D fighter in that regard, right? And then knockout. So, okay, there'd be 4 different types of moves that I was thinking of. There'd be, let's see, I'm running out of space. Do you have an eraser?
There's also the 2-sided piece.
Okay, I'll use this. So,
There's the center board.
you guys can see it.
Yeah.
Sorry. That works. Okay, I'll use this. So, pretty much every 2D fighting game has your normal attacks, your special moves, and what makes special moves special is 2 things. One, you can cancel into them out of normal attacks, and 2, they kind of do special things. That's the classic Hadouken or Shoryuken, right? And then your supers. Well, the 4th, I'm making a 4th idea, which are the critical attacks. So they're pretty distinct in that if you get hit by a critical attack and burnout, then that's what wins the round, right? So then this introduces 2 different stages, right? The first one, you want to play normally, you want to combo them, stuff like that, get their health down, or get their vigor down, depending on the play style of your character, or how you like to play. And then you want to try to fish for these, right? 2 different stages, right? Makes it a little more interesting than just, hey, take down their health to 0, right? So that's the general concept of the game. Hopefully I'm not going off like a crackhead. And if I am, well, that's showbiz, baby. So that's the concept of this, and kind of the purpose too, because once again, I'm just trying to make something that's different from the traditional 2D fighter. I'm trying to make some innovations to it. So in gameplay, I kind of got into most of that as well. So I guess now's a good time for me to show you my characters and sprite work. So I currently made sprites for 4 different characters, and realistically, we'll probably just implement like even less than that. But I currently have like 7 in mind, but only 4 of them actually have sprites at the moment. But I'll get into the characters once I show you the sprites. Okay. Okay, so I'll show you the character lineup. Okay, so I'll go into some of their gameplay mechanics or like their general like game plans because there's a little bit different, and this with fighting games there's a lot of personality in how each character plays out. That's really like where the meat of the game comes from. So I'll explain each one of these just real quick, and also go into a little bit of story because I don't really have like a fully fleshed out story, but I've been thinking of this game for a long time, and this is my one time to actually talk about it. So yeah, you get to experience it. So 4 characters right now. They're not in order. This would be character number 1. Okay, his name is the Renegade, and the Renegade uses a lot of electrical attacks. In fact, his main weapons are 2 electrical guitars, which are like long knives. And generally, he's a pretty straightforward character. His main like special ability would be actually summoning lightning and using that to power up his next attacks. So for instance, he'll have one attack where he just sends out a little spark in front of him, but when he powers himself up with that lightning strike, then it becomes a massive lightning bolt that's full screen, right? And this is separate from his Berserk state as well. So that's his main ability. Overall, he'd be a more simpler to play character. He kind of looks like me, you know, because get this, I'm kind of serving as like the model for some of these. He'll be the first one I implement for obvious reasons. So that's him. I'll go into the next character. And just, you know, by the way, I've been doing all the sprite work like by myself, and I do them from scratch. So like, just so you know, right? That probably took up the rating just a little bit, the ESRB rating. I apologize. These are, I'm going to go back to the original one because that one is compressed as shit. So anyway, this one is Dreadnought. Dreadnought is a gunslinger, and he has a few special abilities, and this is kind of where I get a little wild because he starts to get a little crazy. So he has a few abilities where, one, he shoots behind him, and then his bullets come around from across the screen, and if it hits you, it knocks you towards him, give you a combo, right? And then also, he has an assault rifle, but he doesn't really use it in a traditional way. He's not just shooting you with it. He throws it onto the ground, and it projects a laser upwards. And if you ever intersect that laser, it fires, and then you get popped up for a combo. So, like, just to give you an idea, sorry, Twitch, once again. Let's say he's, like, right here, and you are right here. So, for instance, let's say he sets up his rifle right here. What he can do, from a very far distance away, he shoots the bullets that hit you, you go flying into the rifle pops you up, and that can extend combos. So he's kind of like a setup zoner character, right? And once again, all of these characters, I'm trying to do something a little bit different, something that we really haven't seen before. If you can set up your rifle and do all the stuff right, it's going to be crazy. And then the third character, I'm going to talk about her. That's Lilac. So Lilac's kind of like a grappler. She's a bit different from most grapplers. She doesn't really, her grab doesn't really like do a lot of damage. In fact, does no damage at all. It puts you to sleep. So the idea is you can get combos from that and other stuff like that. She also has like advancing moves, things like that. And then the fourth character, that's Idle. You might notice her arms are a little weird. That's because there's actually an old iteration. She doesn't have arms at all. The entire concept is that she only uses kicks, and she's kind of like a rushdown character. A lot of fire attacks as well. And then this is also where I'll get into some of the like Berserk mechanics. This is like just give you an idea of like how these characters get powered up in the Berserk state. So Renegade kind of just goes crazy. He kind of just gets manic, like devilish almost, and he can start to summon electricity from the opponent. So for example, he can pull you from full screen if he can, and then also summon even more electricity from the air to power up his attacks even more, right? So like kind of like just introduce some new ideas. And then also one idea is that when he pulls lightning from the sky like he did before, he becomes like a time bomb, and after a few seconds, the lightning strike will come back and, you know, go crazy, right? So if you can set up into that, then that's pretty cool. I'm still really thinking about a concept for Dreadnought, to be honest, so I'll come back to him. This idea is that she's all about sleeping, dreams, stuff like that. So in Berserk state, she starts to summon nightmares. And these nightmares act like puppet characters, really, where she can start to summon, use them independently, and that can extend combos or pressure, things like that. And then with her, she kind of becomes like a Terminator kind of thing, where then her arms become massive Gatling barrels, and then at any point she can just start spraying away. Like she can like cancel out of anything she wants for more block pressure, things like that. And just thought that'd be really cool. So then I'll get into a general story idea. It's very loose, like this obviously has not been my main focus for this, but just give me an idea. So the entire concept is that there's this land, this utopia that's been created. It's just like much further in the future, like centuries ahead of present day. And the entire concept is that all these countries, in order to make a better world, want to have this testing ground, patient zero, for this utopia. They all come together and create this beautiful place filled with culture, commercial, infrastructure, everything, to, once again, make the world a better place. And the entire concept is that we are becoming just so good, like everything's becoming perfect, that something has to go astray. I'm not like a huge Christian. I'm assuming you guys aren't either. I don't know. But if you know the Tower of Babel, the entire idea is that they build this tower closer to heaven, and they're actually like reaching heaven, and then God was like, no. And then he introduced the idea of all these languages, and they couldn't talk anymore. So like a little catchphrase that I was thinking about for this game, like the entire story, is that like as humans reach closer to heaven, it's only natural that something brings us back down to hell. And so what ends up happening is that some of these people go crazy, they go berserk, and they get really crazy powers that start to deal with some of their mental problems. And here's a great one, Lilac. I was thinking about this. This sounds like really messed up, but I was just, once again, this game's kind of going hardcore. So the idea, she also has some boxing stuff, and the idea is that she was the wife of a boxer, the Sandman. He passed away at some point. We don't know why. She assumes that someone killed him and wants revenge. And her favorite memories are like with her husband, right? And the entire idea is that the nightmares she summons are her dead husband. And they look like a massive boxer. And then the idea with like Idol is that she is a trained assassin, and she's never really had like a life. She always feels robotic, really. She doesn't really have the ability to be capable of emotion. So the idea is that she becomes this crazy death machine. And then there's more stuff like that. Obviously, these sound crazy, but just thought it'd be cool. So the entire idea is that like people are trying to cope with these. Obviously, the fighters you're playing are the ones that are going berserk. And it's like, how do they manage that? How do they learn to be more human, like why are they going berserk, things like that. It's the mysteries you'll uncover as you progress through the game, right? So that's really the story and the characters, and then I just showed you the sprite work. Hopefully I haven't gone on too many tangents here. But anyway, what's a realistic timeline? So as of right now, I'm very on and off with this game. What I've shown you, it might look like I've only put like a few weeks of work into this, but this has been on and off for like several months. So, but when this comes to Wolf Pitch, obviously want to put a lot more time into it consistently, and I really want to put some more time into it over winter break. But as of right now, my big goal right now is to implement the Renegade, the main character, and all the universal mechanics. So that's like the vigor, berserk meter, the critical attacks, all that stuff, right? I want to make a cohesive fighting game, see if it works, see if the berserk mechanic is fun, right? And then that's like really the main overarching goal. There's like a lot of substeps in between. For example, I'm just currently finishing up the Renegade sprite and then gonna start animating it, which means I'm gonna like try to record myself doing moves like an idiot at some point and try to make them 2D sprites. Yeah, obviously any artist that is willing to help me out would really be of service there. But that's really what I'm trying to do. That's really what I want to achieve as a Wolf Pitch. And the current environments of like, hey, where am I doing this all? This I want to propose as like our big Unity project, because this is 2D currently. I don't mind eventually making this 3D, like either making 3D models or even having like Octopath Traveler, where they have all the 2D sprites in a 3D environment and they have like all the beautiful 3D shading and stuff like that. That'd be really cool to do. As of right now, I just want to keep this as a 2D game in Unity. I've barely touched Unity, to be honest, because I've been so focused on these sprites. I put so much time into these. These are from scratch, by the way. So that's really the work environments, but obviously that's all subject to change if this becomes a Wolf Pitch. And then I guess that's also the major goals. Is there anything else do you think I should mention?
I think you pretty much got it. Oh, team members. Yeah, team members and questions.
Okay, so team members. Oh yeah, also like reason why you should join. Okay, the few like strong concepts that I'm trying to go for, like as like developing a video game, are creating a story and game design. Not like in terms of like balancing what's fun, creating innovations, looking at the current scope of the fighting game realm and just putting something new into it, making something interesting. That's really what I want to go with here. So anyone that really wants to break the mold, do some heavy research, and figure out what the fighting game community is missing, that's what I want to see. And also high fidelity artwork. I really tried my best to showcase that here, and that's something I really want to go for. I have no artistic background before this, and I don't think you need to either, because if you're willing to put into the work, I think that we can make something extraordinary in terms of that. And team members, mainly I would like programmers, because I really don't have much experience with that. But game designers and artists are more than welcome. I'd say like I don't really have like an idea of like the numbers you want, but I'd say anyone that's willing to program this game. I'd mostly like programmers, and then also a few artists and game designers. And that's pretty much everything. Sound? Oh yeah, and then obviously sound work. Mainly programmers and sound work here, but just any artist and game designers I would also greatly appreciate, because I love to collaborate with people who love the fighting game community. And that's pretty much everything. To be honest, I didn't plan any of this, despite me wanting to pitch this for a long time, and hopefully I went over everything and it wasn't too crazy. Yeah.
Questions? Yeah, so I've got a few things. First off, Honestly, that is really great artwork, especially for you said this is your first time you like mess around with the GIMP and whatnot.
I've had very, very little experience with pixel art before. This is the first time I've done like actual like pixel art, honestly.
It's very well done. I gotta
Thank you.
agree with that. But one thing I did have a question about, you very much emphasize your like state mechanics and whatnot. But from what I've gathered so far is that health and vigor are somewhat synonyms. I'm just trying curious what you think. Like how are you gonna make those distinct?
Okay, here's a better way to think about it. What fighting games do you know?
Street Fighter, Persona 4 Arena, and then Platform Fighters.
Have you seen Mortal Kombat 11? Have you seen those? Okay, that's really easy to explain though. So you have your health, your offense meter, and your defense meter, right? And the idea with this is that if you lose your defense meter, that can also kill you. But the idea is that if you lose all your health, then that also drains your defense meter, which can lead to... I know they seem like they're muddled together, but the idea is that there's more than one way to die.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than one way to win the round. Does that distinguish
Yeah,
them a little bit?
yeah, and another thing is like the potential like snowball effect when it comes to that, because you mentioned like you can get in this berserk mode. How long are you planning that lasting? Because I can see that like completely destroying something.
The idea is that it would last like... It'd be dynamic. It'd last a set time, but if you take damage, then you'd lose that meter. And it wouldn't last too long. But long enough for you to like enjoy the mechanics and make it worth it for you to learn the mechanics. But yeah, hopefully not too long. And if you are just like being all unga bunga and you just keep getting hit in Berserk mode and not really thinking about what you're doing, you'd lose it way quicker. So it would really encourage skill as well. Is that...
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. With you.
Going on the health versus vigor confusion, what causes health to be dropped and what causes vigor to be dropped? I think identifying that would make it clear what the distinction is.
Okay, let me write it down again. Where did
What
I...
is this for?
Huh?
There's another board here.
Okay, so... It'll label them by their first letters. All right, so health is like your traditional health system, right? If you get hit, you take damage, that loses health. So, like, take damage, get hit, lose health. In that regard, it's very similar to how everything else works. And vigor is a little bit different. Vigor is your defense meter. This controls all of your really powerful defensive mechanics. For example, like it lets you break out of combos, lets you like roll through an opponent to like, if they're trying to like just pressure you on block, you can like roll past them, or you can parry attacks, things like that. So as you use defense mechanics, you lose vigor. And then also I was thinking that like if you're taking like chit damage, instead of taking chit damage on health, you take chit damage on vigor. I know that like makes it brings them a little too close together. But the idea is that this works traditionally like health, and this works like a defense mechanic. Like Guilty Gear has like the burst meter, where that's like your combo breaker. Kind of works like that. Or like Mortal Kombat has like the defense meter, things like that. And then I'm just going to tie this back into Burnout, because this is where they kind of get confusing. So Burnout can occur two ways. One, you lose all your health, or two, you lose all your vigor. And if you lose all your health, you by default lose all your vigor, so technically it triggers when you lose all your vigor. So the idea is that, yes, it's controlled by your health, but it's also controlled by how you handle these defensive mechanics. If you're really trigger happy with them and you're not using them properly, you'll lose them really fast and lose your vigor and then hit burnout.
So it's kind of like a mana bar of sorts.
Yeah, it's like a mana bar. If you lose all your mana, then that is what gets you prone to getting knocked out. I'll go with you.
Would offensive mechanics then be able to restore vigor as it like, or is that just?
That's definitely an idea. My current idea is that Berserk meter controls your super attacks and actually hitting the Berserk state. But they could restore vigor. The idea of restoring vigor as well, I figured I might as well touch on that, is that one, it regenerates over time, slowly, but over time. And then two, if you use these defensive mechanics well, for example, let's say you successfully combo break out of a attack, or let's say you're like going Street Fighter 3 and you're just pairing like attack, 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 you're going to regain some of that vigor. It's not going to be a profit, but you won't lose as much. Or in some cases, you won't lose anything at all. And once again, with the regaining over time, this makes like a more like dynamic system. This isn't like health where if you're at 20%, you're gonna stay at 20% until you get hit again, and it's gonna go down even lower. No, it's gonna fluctuate throughout the match. This is like the idea with Smash I was talking about, where like you can die at 0 or you can die at like 300%. This is a little more volatile. It's a little more fluid in how you get knocked
Can you transition from burnout to like normal or burnout to the?
Yeah. Okay. So burnout, normal. That was freaking dope. Okay. So the idea is that you can go to and from. I guess I should also do that. Okay. So when you hit burnout, and once again, burnout is when you lose all your vigor. You're in that burnout state for a little bit of time. However much, it depends on however much vigor you lose. For example, let's say your combo breaker costs 50% of your vigor meter, and you were at like 1%. Right. That's going to take a long time versus if you're just like 3% over, right? So you're in burnout for a limited amount of time. And then from there, you enter normal again. And you have like a vigor meter that's partially filled.
Do you always enter burnout before being knocked out, or can you be knocked out?
You have to be knocked. You get knocked out by being in burnout.
Okay, and you can only be knocked out through critical hits, or like can you get knocked out through any kinds of hits?
Only the critical attacks I talked about, or the super attacks.
Okay, so I can like indefinitely stay alive if I'm like just hit with like normal.
If you play well enough. But the idea is that when you hit burnout, it's kind of different in how you win. It's like the second stage of the game that I'm talking about. Because either you need to fish for those criticals, which are kind of hard to do because they're slow, or you have to save up enough of your Berserk meter to then use your super attacks. And then the Berserk state also gave you some powers with how you do that as well.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking like, why wouldn't you just like spam like critical hits, like if you just want to knock someone out?
Yeah, the thing is they'd be hard to use.
Okay.
But I was also thinking, I've been talking too long. Whiteboard number 3. How critical attacks would work. This is also where I want a lot of visual flair to go.
Before you get into that, we have about like 15 minutes left.
I won't.
Yeah, we got one more presentation to do.
Oh, you want me to finish it?
Yeah, like just try to wrap it up in the next few minutes.
Okay, so I'm almost done. So, and then critical attacks, so like where all the visual flair would come in, I know this is a little bit separate. But for instance, the critical attacks would be like, there'd be one with like a target attack, there'd be one with your throw, one with your sweep, your fundamental attacks. Well, let's say you hit them under a certain condition, they then have like this really special animation associated with them, and then there's like a massive, like kind of like Guilty Gear Strive, you ever seen it? They're like the massive like critical in the background.
Right, yeah.
Right? So like for instance, the Renegade, I was thinking with his, he'd have one, his base critical could be stabs you right in the throat. But if you get it under the certain circumstances, he'll also follow it up with a gut punch, and then like all that blood will come rushing out your neck, and then you'll get popped up for a combo. So the critical attack also lets you combo as well. So it's multi-faceted. Anything else?
So you mentioned that if you lose all your health, you go into burnout mode, but don't necessarily get knocked out immediately. If you go into burnout mode by losing all your health, are you able to go back into normal mode after that? Yeah. Okay. Or Berserk mode, can you go to that?
You can okay. This is where Berserk mode comes in because in Berserk mode you can go into that from burnout and you can't get knocked out in Berserk mode. So that's like your get out of jail free card for a little bit of time, right? So let's say you get into burnout and you're like, oh crap, I'm about to get knocked out. Good thing I have my Berserk meter saved. This is when I pop it, right? So now there's strategy in when you use it. This kind of like ties into like the neutral aspect of fighting games because the most powerful state is when you're not doing anything at all because you don't have to commit to anything. Let's say you're kind of trigger happy, like I said before, with your Berserk state, and you use it on a whim. It's not there when you need it. There's a lot of strategy that comes into this. And I know I'm vomiting out a lot of mechanics and stuff like that, but I really want this all to come together and be something. Right?
I'll keep it quick, but how are the phase changes going to affect the sprite works? Like, were you going to give one guy a purple guitar, or like smoke coming out if they're on the burnout sprite?
They'd be massively different. The reason why I showed you a picture of shirtless Renegade is because he'd lose all of this, massive robes. He'd look like a devil. His lightning becomes red.
Okay.
A lot of crazy stuff. This is where shit gets crazy.
All right. How many characters are you adding?
I currently just want to add him. Next step is add these 4. I have 3 more after this.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's all the time I have. Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is my wolf pitch that I kind of made the presentation like just now sitting here, but I've had the idea for a while. I've shown it to a couple people in the club, and I've just been thinking about it. So this is funny chess. So the game idea is just make as many like of the dumbest, wackiest chess minigame modes that you can think of. So I've had just a notepad that I've been adding random ideas to that I just come up with on like a whim. I'm just like, all right, random idea, maybe I'll make it work, and then I just type it up and leave it for later. And the idea is just to implement as many of these as I can into a game in 2 separate halves. So there's a single player half where it's like chess.com puzzles where like you're given like a certain game state and you have to figure out like the correct moves to do in order to get to a winning like chess state, like check or like whatever. And there'll just be a bunch of those puzzle boards. And for like each of like the weirder like game modes, you'll just have like different number of boards. A random stretch goal I had literally just sitting here is somehow make it like procedurally generated, but no idea how you would do that. So that's just throwing it. And then multiplayer, because chess is inherently a 2-player game. So have like ways to play like some of like a chess versus checkers game between 2 people, both like local multiplayer and playing against like a CPU. I know nothing about AI. I'll get into stuff like that later, but just having a way you can play these games with another player, either like online or like anything like that. So visual style is, I kind of just want to keep it very minimal. Like if you've seen like any like online chess engines and stuff, there's nothing complicated. It's just very basic icons. Like I think usually it's just vector graphics for like all the icons and stuff, and then just a bare board. And that's kind of all I want for the style. And then like just vary the visuals for each mode slightly, like whether it be like even just like a simple color shift or like just like changing what they look like for each mode, something like that, simple. I don't want to complicate the visuals very much because I know it's going to be the game would be very heavy on the mechanics themselves and like how much you actually like have to like just program like making each game mode work. And so I just wanted to keep my idea is just to keep the visuals very simple. Scope, the minimal viable product idea I have is just have like a set of like single player levels that are working, like not very many, just to like have like a way to test like all the different like random mode ideas that I have and just create levels for them that like you can play like as a single player. Stretch goal would be getting multiplayer working for like a lot of the easier modes like just basic chess or like chess versus checkers as I brought up earlier. And then super stretch is just continually adding like the most random game modes you can think of, because that's the fun in my ideas. Just if you come up with an idea, just figure out a way to get it to work. And that's it. And then some just like risks and challenges that I'm thinking of because I'm not the best game developer. I know I'm not. I'm not the best at programming. I can't do art. This is one of the modes that I was working on just for fun. I showed this to I think a lot of you guys. This is just like the most basic art. I'm not very good at it. I'm not sure how much work it would be to make because I have like a very basic chess engine working. It doesn't have like checking or like a lot of like the weird like en passant and all that BS, but it has all the pieces except kings. No, it has kings. I just don't have them in this version. It has kings and it has all the pieces working. That much. And like I know nothing about AI. I don't know how to make like if you have like you're playing chess against like an AI opponent, I know nothing about how you would go about making that. So I would very much need help with that and art. I'm not good at art. So I would also need help with that. But if I'm going with like my more minimal idea style, it won't be very difficult or require much work. And so people, this is just kind of like roughly thrown out the table. I just need like a couple people to help with programming, like max like one other person to help with 2D art, and then people to help me with like puzzle design because I'm not the best chess player, so I don't know how good the puzzles I would make are. I like making puzzles and I'm confident in my ability, but I don't know how good they'd be. And then I just threw it out there, the funny idea person that all game designers say don't exist, but we know they exist. And that's it. That's my idea. Any questions?
So, you mentioned AI, and chess AI is very complicated.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's why there are 20 iterations of the most popular chess engine in
Mhm.
the world. And so, concern for that is, with your new ideas, like the one I saw was Chess First, which I think is amazing, but getting an AI program specifically for each mode
Yeah.
might be difficult.
That is something I have been thinking about a lot is because if you're playing chess like just like on a normal board versus like a hexagonal board where you can move around like on like a hexagonal board and like you can move like in 60-degree increments as opposed to 90, that would require completely different AI than like a normal like just a plain game of chess would. So me not knowing anything about AI, I don't exactly know how much work that would be. So if my idea is keep that as like a super stretch, like having like AI working as a stretch, just get local multiplayer working because that requires a lot less work and would be much easier.
I'd actually say as a counterpoint to, I'd focus more on network multiplayer before I do AI.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
Really, it would be really easy to do network. I mean, it's still networking. It's not going to be
Yeah.
trivial, but it's a lot easier because you're not doing anything real time. So far as I
Mhm.
understand it, it's all turn based.
Mhm.
So very simple to just
Yeah.
set it up for the network.
Yeah.
I also second that because with chess AI, it takes seconds sometimes to make a move.
You can
Yeah.
also make it a mobile game. People can play it.
Yeah, I was thinking mobile would be a good device to have the game on because it's easy to play games like this on mobile. Also, I don't think it's very difficult with like the Unity input system if you're having just plain click to have it work on mobile, so yeah. Doesn't seem like any other. Okay.
Do you have a like rough number for the minimum viable product of like how many of the things you want to have done, or is it just kind of see how it goes?
I'm more on to see how it goes right now because I'm kind of just throwing ideas out like on a board and like seeing how many of them would make sense to work. I'm not like thinking of like, is it balanced because I don't really care, but I kind of just want to just like get ideas and like see how many of them I can implement, just like working through them, just no matter how complicated or how easy they are, just doing what I can. That's kind of it. Nobody else? Okay. That is it.
One of the officers should be working on getting the voting form out on the Discord, Twitch included. So the way that voting is going to work is we have all the projects that we've just gone over here in 3 separate boxes. So you get to pick your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice. And then from everybody, we'll pick 1 to 3 games that we'll be making next semester. We'll try to keep about 1 per engine, maybe do 2 per engine if there's enough people that are interested. Yeah, that should do it.